The lesson.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody who's creative, whether it's music, any sort of art, has their influences.
Yeah.
Whether that was in their early stages all the way to, when they're doing it. We were talking briefly about, I guess, when I've grown up watching comedy, it's predominantly been African-American comedy. And the Def Comedy Jam is the thing that really, stands out for me. And then that's where I kind of branched off from there. I want to sort of ask you, I guess, who are some of your favorite comedians? Some of your biggest influences? And even before that, I'm going to throw you a couple of names of some of my favorites.
Yeah.
And then you tell me whether you know them or not.
Yep.
And if so,
Cool.
what your take on them is. So I guess the first one, we'll keep it Australian, Jim Jefferies.
Best in Australia and one of the best in the world right now. I think he's absolutely paving the way for not just Australian people, but for people outside of America. I think he was really one of the first people to kind of break through into America, into the mainstream, and make the entertainment business go, oh, I think there's people outside of America that are good too. And they started looking around. I think that he's amazing. And the best show I've ever seen live was a Jim Jefferies show. His last one in Melbourne, where he did Margaret Court Arena, and he did 2 hours on stage, and I was in awe the whole time. I was like, I didn't even know you could be this good. It was like, it really made me go, man, I can get so much better. And I'm really excited for him. I got tickets for him in December, and I think he's doing Rod Laver in Melbourne, which is something stupid like
10,000?
I think it's more.
50.
Margaret Court was 7,000. I think Rod Laver could be 15 to 20, something stupid like that, and he'll fill it, which is crazy. And if he does, he'd be the first Australian comedian to do Rod Laver, because he was the first Australian to do Margaret Court, and now he's topped it.
Wow.
Yeah.
And so do you think it's safe to say that he's the guy that's put Australia on the map, on the worldwide scale in terms of comedy?
Absolutely. And I think there's other people now, like Hannah Gadsby has just kind of broken through as well. And she's doing really well. But I'd say definitely Jim Jefferies. I mean, I couldn't think of Australian comedian that's bigger than Jim. I mean, he's one of the biggest in the world, regardless of where you're from. So yeah, I'd really say that it's Jim putting it on the map, and he's so Australian as well.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing that caught my attention about him when I first came across his shit. I think it was maybe 5 years ago. I think maybe 4. I just remember when I'd come across it. It was by accident. No one showed me. It was like recommended viewing or something. And yeah, like, because I just predominantly watch black comedy, that real Aussie thing, I was like, oh, wow, like, this just reminds me of so many people locally here that I know.
Yeah, it's like, he's like, his act is like a culmination of the most horrible thing you've ever said to a friend at a bar, but it's an hour of it. Like, you look back on that thing that you said to your mate 3 years ago that made everyone cry, but he's like gotten all of those moments and put him into an hour. And it's like, I don't know, that's how I kind of look at his stuff.
And then how were you first introduced to his work?
I think I saw the stuff about him getting punched in the head at a comedy club. I think I just randomly found that online when it was going mega viral. Oh, wow. And then I watched some comedy specials on YouTube of his, just the earlier ones. And I was like, oh, this guy's good. But I don't think I truly became a fan until I saw that gun control bit, like everyone else, really. And I was like, man,
that kind of put him.
That's what really blew him up internationally, and especially in America, because that's such a hot button issue there. So yeah, that's what made me go, oh, this guy's real good.
He delivered that incredibly flawlessly.
I think straight up one of the best bits ever written.
That's a fair call. Because I remember when I first seen that, I watched that like a dozen times, and I showed like 50 people. I'm like, I'm telling you this.
Well, yeah, that thing. Oh, he was talking about it at his Margaret Court. He thinks that could have got like 300 million views or something stupid like that, just from all of the re-uploads. Like, I saw at least 3 or 4 that had 20 million each. Easy. I think the one that he put up has like 20 million, and it's only on his page. That was reposted. I still see it.
Yeah, I
It's
know.
like-
So do I.
Yeah, it's crazy.
huh?
It could be one of the most viewed stand-up bits ever.
Wow, that's nuts. And I guess with him in particular, be interesting to get it from the thoughts from a comedian. Obviously, I think he's fucking hilarious.
Yeah.
What is it that you think really makes him, that bit better, special, stand out from all the rest?
I think he's got this real nice mix. He doesn't get enough credit for his silly stuff. I think he's got this real nice mix of like dark, dangerous. I can't believe he's joking about that. But then he kind of makes this okay by shoving in a little bit of like silly, but it's all just jokes. And I feel like he doesn't get enough credit for that because it's almost so subtle that you wouldn't even notice it. You can tell that that it's not, I'm just joking around. Like he's got that little silly energy. Like the best bit I've actually heard of his was live at that show, and it's obviously only for Australia. He did this ridiculously silly bit that you could see on TV done by just about any other comedian. It was like that kind of silly, safe, observational humor. He did this bit about normal pies versus traveler pies, like the long pies. And he was just talking about how when you eat a normal pie, you get it all over yourself, but you eat a long pie and there's no mess. And he's like, I've been eating round pies like a fucking idiot my whole life. Why didn't we bring in long pies earlier? We had the technology. We had long technology. We've been making sausage rolls for decades. Why the fuck have it taken me this long to eat long pies? And it was just so stupid and silly. It was like a 10-minute bit. I probably just butchered it then. I didn't do it justice, but I cried. It was so funny. And I feel like he never gets enough credit for his just like silly, harmless material like that. And I think that's what makes him so good, is not only is he covering ground that other comedians would, really not go near at all. It's just like his delivery and how he holds himself on stage is just, he just adds that little bit of, I'm just joking around, that makes it okay.
And have you ever worked with him or met him or,
I would love to. I haven't. I have a friend, Khaled Colourfellow, who opened for him. I'm really close with Khaled, and he opened for him at Margaret Court. And that's why I got to see the show. I got to be right up the front, and that was like a really cool moment to see one of my friends doing an arena and opening for Jim. And yeah, so I'd love to work with Jim at some point, but that's as close as I've gotten, just, by association. I know a mate who opened for him, but, you never know.
And he actually did a movie, I reckon I saw it about a year ago, about zombies or something, the zombie apocalypse. And it had, is it Alex Williamson,
yeah.
the loosest Aussie bloke?
Yeah.
Now, you're obviously familiar with his work.
He's a good friend.
Does he do stand-up? Or?
Yeah, he does, yeah.
And is he originally from Adelaide?
Alex kind of paved the way for all of us online people doing stand-up. He was like, I'd say not only was he one of the first Australians making online content that made Australian humor okay. I remember in high school, you didn't watch Australian stuff. That was lame and not funny and weird. It's like YouTube was for Americans and you watched all the American YouTubers. And if you watched an Australian people or even making stuff in Australia, that was weird and you're a nerd. But then Alex Williamson started doing it and that made everyone go, oh, this guy's really good. And he was like a thing. And that he kind of made me realize, oh, Australians can do it too. And then also he started doing stand-up as well. I think he's still one of the best in Australia doing the online thing. And he paved the way for all of us.
The lesson. 927. Oh, yeah.